Good afternoon, fellow students and Professor Amsler. I'm Joe Doyle, and our topic for the next few minutes is UNESCO mediation of disputes concerning the repatriation of cultural artifacts, and some suggestions for how UNESCO's methods can be improved. UNESCO is an agency of the United Nations tasked with promoting peace and security through international cooperation in matters concerning education, the arts, sciences, and culture. UNESCO currently has 193 member states and 11 associate members. One important duty of UNESCO is to resolve matters related to artifact repatriation requests made on behalf of national governments holding active UNESCO membership. Cultural artifacts have a history of landing in museums and private collections alike through illicit means, often from regions where armed conflicts have taken place. UNESCO has developed a framework for addressing requests for repatriation of those artifacts, first outlined in their 1970 UNESCO Convention, which was most recently updated in 2017. While UNESCO has met with some success under their current rules, there are still many requests that remain unresolved. Well known among them are Greece's request for the return of the Elgin or Parthenon marbles, Egypt's request for the return of the Rosetta Stone, Chile's request for Hoa Hakananaya, and Nigeria's request for the Benin bronzes. All the cultural artifacts I've just mentioned are currently in the possession of the British Museum, an institution that prohibits the permanent repatriation of most artifacts in its custody in accordance with the British Museum Act of 1963. This is an important factor for consideration when it comes to mediation through UNESCO, as UNESCO can only promise mediation concerning artifacts allegedly taken after 1970 if all parties involved agree to participate. Because of the asymmetry between the perceived power of states involved, this can lead some countries to become over-reliant on good faith gestures from countries with greater perceived power when seeking restitution of cultural artifacts. There is also plenty of debate over whether and when repatriation is the wisest course of action to take, usually due to alleged unsafe conditions in one of the countries involved. To more easily resolve these cases, UNESCO should once again update the 1970 Convention to allow for a more transformative mediation process that sets countries involved on more equal ground. This may be possible by using a model similar to one used by the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, or NAGPRA, in the United States. For those who are unfamiliar, NAGPRA serves as an extension of the Archaeological Resources Protection Act of 1979, itself a functional replacement of the 1906 Antiquities Act, the first U.S. law to guarantee broad protection of cultural artifacts. NAGPRA requires federal agencies, museums, and individuals with private collections to make inventory of artifacts that may belong to indigenous populations in the United States. NAGPRA also requires agencies and museums to consult with Indian tribes and Native Hawaiian organizations to attempt to reach agreements on the repatriation or other disposition of these remains and objects. Additionally, NAGPRA empowers the Department of the Interior to fine those who fail to comply with the statute, but also empowers the department to grant funds to assist tribes, organizations, and museums on all sides of the dispute should they demonstrate need for aid. UNESCO may have more success in supervising mediation should they enact more stringent, NAGPRA-esque documentation and consultation requirements. UNESCO can improve their mediation process by requiring all parties to participate in mediation after a reasonable claim for repatriation has been made by one party, and issue fines or sanctions if parties refuse to participate in the mediation process. Claimants would also stand to benefit if UNESCO guaranteed mediation for claims to items taken prior to 1970, given sufficient evidence of looting or other illicit means of acquirement. If UNESCO's mediation process is changed in this way, it could allow for greater influence on the part of those countries issuing repatriation requests, allowing mediation to move more efficiently beyond an impasse. That's all. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you soon.